Hey all, just a quick little turnaround. I want to show you what loops are. People have been asking and I want to make sure that everybody's completely clear on it. There are some separate things that we need to deal with in understanding loops, but it's generally a terminology that's used really heavily in our industry in making anything in 3D. Um, and we'll go from there. So there's a reason that we call these loops is because if you look at an edge, and we call them edge loops by default, but if you look at the edge of an object going into edge mode and we click on an edge that we can see, there we go. And I push Alt L or I click the loop button, it'll go all the way around the object. It goes parallel line, so it goes from one vert to the next vert to the next vert all the way around, and it picks it all the way around. The one trick is that they need to be quads, but we'll come back to that. Another way to look at a loop is not just the parallel edges, but it's perpendicular. So if this one goes from here around, it would be a ring instead of a loop, but we're still talking about edge loop issues. So if I say ring, it goes all the way around. And the reason it's still kind of an edge loop when we talk about it generically is because it's still looping around the object. If you can see, it goes all the way around the object just by pushing ring. Okay. So the trick about edge loops have to be built on edges that have quads around them. So I can't go perpendicular from here to here if it's a try. So let me make a try here. I'll just do this. And if I say edge loop, let me make two tries to make it even more clear. If I say edge loop at this point and I have this try right there, watch what happens. It goes, oops, wrong one. If I say ring, it goes all the way around the object and stops at where there's no more quads. So you have to make sure everything is a quad, and that's one of the tricks about using edge loops. And that's one of the reasons you'll hear people talking about everything needs to be quadded up or everything needs to be made into quads. If I do a loop on this one, let's look up here. Loops, it should stop here at this triangle, because even though it's even though it's parallel to the next line, like we've talked about, the way it defines it, it still stops because there's not a quad on both sides. If I did it here, it does the same thing. Watch, if I say loop, it'll go, well, there's your loop, because these are all quads, and then all of a sudden it's got three directions to go from, and logically it can't pick. If I take this ring right here and say, this edge right here and say ring, which will go around, it'll go around no problem, because its loop is based on the quads that go around the whole thing, and don't really have to interfere with this right here. So let me show you, if I decide to connect this, so just do a real quick connect on it, and I'll do that, or we could do Swift loop, draw our own line. If I take this edge, or this edge right here, and say loop, it'll go all the way around the object again, because again, quads on both sides, it's all defined by the quads. So edge loops define a loop around the object based on the quads that it's next to. So it looks for the next quad and it makes an edge, and then it selects that edge and selects that edge. Or if it's this way, it goes to the next quad in a perpendicular and goes ring, 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 ring. We've moved it even further to be, another people talk about, this is an edge loop too. If you say shift and grab the next one after you collect your first one and go shift around the next one, you'll see it makes a ring around the object. And just like before, it's going to have the same problems with this one. If I go shift, it'll stop at those two tries. If I say click here and shift, again, it just looks like a ring. That's the point, and that's the idea of edge loops. And there's a reason, and this one it didn't know what I wanted, which is hilarious. And there is a reason that when we start doing the airtight stuff, which we talked about before, everything should be tried to be quadded up. Now, what does that mean? Well, if I take this edge out right here, it's not really anything else but for visual reference. The computer doesn't need it. I took all these edges out, and I'll just leave a couple in. Actually, we'll do half. If I remove them by pushing backspace or click remove, it's the edges of the polys are still there, but watch what happens when I say edge loop on this one, or ring. It's now completing its way and going through. Now this up here is a weird thing, and I'm not going to try and explain why this 8 pieces goes all the way back to itself. I guess it's just decided, oh, I know why. I know it looks like this went to here and then somehow decided to go there, but really it didn't. It went to the bottom, since it's both direction, and it went back up to the top. Okay, so let me show you another way. If we look at this edge, I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to take this edge right here, and I'm going to make a, we'll just do that, like that. I told you guys a few days ago that the way to get rid of tries on a piece like this is easily you just grab every other edge and push backspace, and now you've got quads. So I grab this one now, lo and behold, it's going even further. Okay, so I mean, that's the kind of thing with loops are great and they're awesome, but the thing you have to pay attention to is, are they terminating where I want them to? If I have them at loops, do I really want it to go in this direction? So let me try it with a 4 with a poly. If I grab shift and grab it, that's what it's grabbing for my loop. And if you follow the logical, the termination of it, it goes here all the way down, all the way up, all the way up, and then now I've got a loop here because it's perpendicular edges, and it goes back down and it comes back over and all the way out. So in theory, if I took these two out now, and then I do this, and I push shift, it's going to go all the way up into the side. Now, the funny thing is your brain's thinking maybe it should be going to this one, but really this edge and this edge are perpendicular because it's a four-sided box. It's just twisted box. And this edge and this edge, if I wanted it to go to this one, believe it or not, I'd have to go here. So I go to 4, click on here, and then shift. You'll see it does exactly the opposite. And if I hold shift here, you'll get both. Okay, so that's edge loops. Edge loops are key and important for modeling quickly and fast. That's sometimes if we use it for this, and when we turbo smooth something, if we go to turbo smooth and then we say right click, or we go back down here and we turn on the subdivide, or we turn it on so we can see the final, and then we come into here and say let's do a swift loop and just start cutting. The reason we do that is because of the way that smoothing works with high-end 3D objects. But if these weren't loops, as you can see, it wouldn't work. That's why it's called swift loop. If I turn this back off, you'll see that it only works on loops. And since I have loops, it's going to keep doing what we want it to do. Maybe not exactly how we want it to do, but it definitely the way we want it to do. So like, for example, if I was going to take, and let me delete this right here. If I was going to do this, I might decide that I don't want to do it this way because when I'm sorry, if I wanted to attach these pieces together, which I did in the previous video, let me decide I don't want it detaching this way because I don't want it to go all the way around the whole object or something. So I have to come up with a solution so it does what I want. I'll try that in another video. I'm not going to play it out right now. But anyway, so that's edge loops. And as you build your tight objects, think about how your loops are going to work for your own sake. All right, and that's what it is.